Good morning, Chris from Resouro Strategic Metals. How are you today?
Very good, Tracy. Thanks for the invitation.
You just put out an amazing update on the overall company, and your PEA was top of mind. Can you tell us more about what's happening?
Well, we're doing a PEA study based on a demonstration treatment plant because we've got such high grades at 23% titanium dioxide and 9,000 ppm total rare earth oxides in our high grade zone, which we have a 43101 resource of 130 million tonnes just in the high grade zone. We're basing a 500,000 tonne per annum treatment plant on the high grade zone in order to go into production quickly and demonstrate that we can produce saleable products and then scale up over time.
Okay, so the strategic focus is we understood it. Okay, you're going to complete your PEA. And what's the timeline for this?
We want to complete the PEA by the end of this year. And we're ready and to start work, additional metallurgical test work, which is going on at SGS Lakefield in Canada, SGS Geosol in Brazil, and CIT Senai in Brazil.
And of course, one of the very intriguing updates, I thought, anyways, was your goal towards pursuing non-dilutive financing. And that was very interesting. Can you give us an update on that?
Well, we're going into a process where we will go into an option for a royalty on the project. One of our main advantages financially with the project is that we have no royalty at the moment. And so this is a group based in Santiago, Chile, who have a technical team in Perth, and they establish an information memorandum and then do an option for a royalty to try and maximize the value we get for the royalty. We're also in discussions with various off-takers in terms of prepayment. So we're looking for a structured finance deal, which would be some senior debt. And we have a submission to the BNDES, the Brazilian Development Bank, for debt funding for the demonstration treatment plant. And that's going through a process at the moment. And we're also talking to some various commercial lenders as well.
As a critical mineral company, you're quite unique. Your number one focus is titanium, and you have high grade titanium. Is that correct?
That's correct. The global grade over 1.9 billion tonnes is 12% titanium dioxide, which compares very favorably with a mineral sands project, which can be 1 or 2%. And our associated with high grade rare earths, but our high grade zone is 23% titanium dioxide, which is almost a concentrate as it stands.
And of course, with titanium, you have a secondary play, which is considering the price of rare earths right now equal with your rare earths. Can you give us an update on that?
Well, the rare earths grades are also high for a clay style rare earths deposit. Our global grade's around 4,100 ppm, total rare earth oxides, and about 28% magnet rare earths in that. But our high grade zone, which we're focusing on for the demonstration treatment plant, is around 9,000 ppm total rare earth oxides, and the same ratio, about 28% magnet rare earths.
You recently stepped into the role of CEO. You were already the executive chairman and a shareholder in the company. Can you tell us what motivated you to do that?
Well, I've got a strong motivation to make sure this project is highly successful. I own 20% of the company, and what I live in Santiago, so I can be at the project on a regular basis. Anytime there's a critical decision to be made at the project, I can be there. And it just makes sense that I'm close to the project. I'm also close to the market. I can get to Australia and Canada within one flight. So I've got a huge vested interest in making this project successful.
We often tell investors in our audience, go to the CEO's LinkedIn because you have an incredible background, Chris. So we're delighted to hear about you becoming the CEO and you're maintaining your executive chairman role. Is that correct?
That's correct. At least for the interim period, we want to get through the PEA, we want to get through this stage, and we may appoint another chairman later on, but at the moment it's all focused on project development. I've been involved in 3 bankable feasibility studies for 3 separate large-scale projects. One very large copper porphyry project in Peru, and I've also worked in mining project finance for Rothschild for 4 years, and am very used to this stage of going through bankable feasibility study and organising structured finance for mining projects.
And speaking of mining projects and of course location benefits, you're in both Canada and Brazil. And I think in our last investor talk, we were talking about the benefits of getting an exploration play to production in Brazil. Can you hit some of those highlights for us?
Well, I think Brazil, and particularly Minas Gerais, is probably the most favourable location for mine permitting in the world at the moment. You can go through from exploration through to bankable feasibility study and permitting in 24 months. There are cases in Brazil which has been shorter than that. The Brazilian government has announced a program to help try and fast track permitting as well. But the key location advantages that we have is that we've got the full infrastructure in place. We've got power, water, highways, a railway line going to deep water ports, and all these things reduce the timeline to production. So we're not in a remote location. We're just northwest of Belo Horizonte in Brazil. All the major mining services companies like SGS, Geosol, Orsenco, who's doing our work, SECI, which is the environmental consultants, they all have large offices, over 300 people in Belo Horizonte. So this all reduces the timeline to production. Firstly, you've got the infrastructure in place, you've got the permitting regime, and you've got very high-skilled technical people available.
Speaking of your skilled team, I noticed your senior metallurgical and project advisors had significant experience, and you recently announced an update on your metallurgical test work progressing. Can you give us kind of an overview on how that's moving forward?
Well, we've recently appointed 2 high-level consultants. Steve Williams is with Blue Ocean Research in Toronto. He was basically very high position at SGS Lakefield, and one of the people who actually set up the SGS Geosol laboratory in Brazil. Now he is our full-time consultant, and I spent 1 week with him in Brazil last week. We also have John Good, who's a very well-regarded and very high-level consultant on the rare earth side, based in Toronto as well, who gives us our high-level view on the metallurgical test work and flowsheet development we're doing.
This Campos Altos Critical Minerals Park sounds just fascinating. For those of you out there in the Investor News audience who may not be familiar with this, Christopher, can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Well, the world talks about supply chain for critical minerals. We're at the beginning of the supply chain. The next step in the supply chain is midstream and downstream processing. So what we've done is allocated a piece of land near our project on the railway line with access to deep water ports, in order to encourage midstream and downstream processing companies such as pigment manufacturers, potentially titanium metal manufacturers, and also mixed rare earth separation. And also we're a part of a consortium that has a demonstration magnet factory in Belo Horizonte. So we're very keen to have midstream and downstream companies locate next to our project, so they can take delivery of titanium dioxide concentrate and mixed rare earth oxides directly to the gate and then do the downstream work. We want to be a mining company and produce concentrate. We don't want to do downstream processing because it's a specialized business in its own right. And also, you need companies with history and technology in that area to do it. And also, it's very capital intensive. So we want to just focus our capital on building mines.
And so for shareholders who already have Resouro Strategic Metals stock in their portfolio, what should they be looking forward to in the next quarter?
Well, obviously, the key catalyst for the stock is publishing the PEA. We're also in the following quarter next year, we'll be talking about some various strategic alliances on the downstream side, and then progressing to a firm time frame to build the demonstration treatment plant.
For those of you interested in finding out more, please go to the following website. And thank you so much, Christopher, for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Enjoyed it.